by Environmental Justice Foundation Thailand. The topic, we have an excellent lineup. So we have the speaker who has worked regionally at the policy level, and also we have the organization really working on the ground up. The topic we'll be discussing today is keeping plastic out of the ocean, the effort from local, national, and regional in Southeast Asia. So the first speaker come from FAO, Ms. Amparo Perez Roda. So she'll be speaking about Global Litter Partnership Project, which is a partnership between FAO and IMO. And I think it is also a very important initiative. Ms. Amparo has worked a lot and for many years on discard fishing gear. And I think that also something very important to be addressed in the topic of marine plastic as well. And we have Dr. Jaturathep Kowintawong, the Director of Marine National Park Management Division from Department of National Park, Wildlife and Plant Conservation. So she'll be showcasing some of the initiatives that has been carrying out in Marine National Park in Thailand. Third, we have Ms. Capucine Pau. Currently, she's based in France, but she represents Jan and Oscar Foundation. So she's been working hard with the community in Southern Thailand, trying to address the issue of marine plastic and also how to help with the local community as well, especially the marginalized community. And last but not least, our host, the EJF Thailand team, Ms. Ingpat Pakchai Ratchakun, and Ms. Salisa Trai Pipit Siriwat, who will be speaking about the net-free sea, an important initiative in Thailand now, and the effort to try to scale it up at the national level as well. So to encourage the interaction, so we'll have the Mentiq question as well. The three Mentiq questions that we would like to get input from you, and we'll be showing the result at the end of our discussion. So first, it's give us one word of what you think will help solve the marine plastic crisis, and we'll see, you know, what represent your idea majority. And the second question, when you think about marine plastic pollution or ghost gear, what do you think is the main challenge? And the last question, where do you work, in what field? So we would like to capture the representation of our audience today. You can go to menthai.com and use the code. So this information will be available on the screen after this. So without further ado, let's go to our first speaker, Ms. Amparo, who's speaking from Rome, who's going to be introducing about the Global Litter Partnership Project, and we'll understand a little bit more about the importance of both fishing gear and also the effort to try to address this one. Amparo, please.
Thank you, Dr. Bert. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you very much to Environmental Justice Foundation to give me the opportunity to participate in this webinar. I will be presenting how FAO is addressing marine plastic litter from the fisheries sector. So I will start with an introduction of what is abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear. Then I will go through some measures that are available to address this issue. What are the challenges? And then what are the main FAO initiatives that are currently ongoing to address ALD-FG? So as you know, fishing gear is made of plastic material, and once it gets lost in the sea, it becomes part of the global problem of the marine plastic litter. And as fishing gear is designed to catch marine wildlife, when it gets lost, it has very harmful impacts, which are the marine life can get entangled, so that can produce a loss in potential fish catches, which is a cost for the fishing sector. And then it can also pose navigation and safety hazards. There are many causes for which fishing gear can get lost or abandoned in the sea. And some of them are the bad weather. There can be also gear conflicts when different fleets are fishing in the same area. And you have different fishing methods that they can get go in conflict and get entangled between them. It can also get snag on the seabed. It can be due to an operator and human error, or also in some cases, but this is not the majority of cases, it can be due to an illegal activity. So, for example, a fishing boat is in a marine protected area where it's not supposed to fish, and they have some issue, and they get with the fishing gear, and the fishing gear get lost there, and they don't try to recover it, of course, because they were doing an illegal activity. There is an international framework to address abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear. There are several international instruments that recognize the need to address this issue. Some of them are listed here in this slide, but it's not an exhaustive list. So some of them includes UN General Assembly resolutions, and the three bullet points that you can see here in bold are binding instruments, but there are also voluntary instruments, as you can see at the bottom of the slide. And one of them is the voluntary guidelines on the marking of fishing gear, which is a tool which particularly address ALDFG. These guidelines were prepared by FAO, and the text was agreed among experts of all around the world through an expert consultation that was held in 2016. And it was also further discussed and agreed by all FAO member states through a technical consultation in 2018. And the same year, the Committee on Fisheries endorsed this tool. This is an effective tool only when it is included in the general fisheries management context. So if it's done so, it can support fishing gear ownership and management. It can prevent the loss, the discarding, or the abandon of the fishing gear and all its impacts, including the environmental impacts, the navigational hazards, and economic and biodiversity impacts that has ghost fishing. And it can also help to detect and improve the ability to address IUU fishing activities. This is the outline of the guidelines. And as you can see here, the guidelines includes definitions of what are abandoned, lost, and discarded fishing gear. So we have a definition for each term, and these guidelines is not only, they don't address only the fishing gear, the marking of the fishing gear itself, but it is a tool that goes through the whole life cycle of the fishing gear. So it addresses what are the good management practices from its design and when it's produced and until the end of its useful life. The guidelines also provide some provisions for what are the needs for research and development to prevent and reduce abandoned, lost, and otherwise discarded fishing gear. It also includes awareness raising, communication and capacity development provisions, and special requirements of developing states and small scale fisheries that should be taken into account when this the issue is addressed. Some of the challenges that we face when we address this problem is, as it happens with in general with marine plastic litters, is that the lack of baseline data or robust baseline data. We don't know exactly how much fishing gear is lost, which types of fishing gear are the most lost, what can be exactly the impacts, and then what can be done to prevent this impact. And there is also a need for knowledge hub because this in some parts of the world there are data about fishing gear that get lost, but the data is very scattered, and there's a need for hub of knowledge, so a place where we can see a global picture of the issue, and also to exchange good practices to address the problem. Another challenge is that it is a transboundary problem. So the fishing gear that is lost in one place can end up on the shore of another country, for example, based due to the marine currents, bad weather, or other factors. And it is a cross-sectoral issue in the sense that in order to effectively address it, there is a need to put together, to collaborate between the different administrations and also all the relevant stakeholders. So we need people from the fisheries administration, from the environmental administrations, also international affairs, because I just mentioned it is a transboundary issue, and then in order to effectively address it, we need to have a common approach. The other challenge is that in order to address ALDFG, we need to consider all the stages of the life cycle of the fishing gear, as it is already mentioned in the voluntary guidelines on the marking of fishing gear. Here we have a list of some examples of what is FAO currently doing to address this issue. So FAO is co-chair of the GESAMP working group number 43. For those who are not familiar with GESAMP is a joint group of experts on the scientific, that works on the scientific aspects of marine environment and protection. and comprises of a membership of independent scientists. And the working group number 43 is on sea-based sources of marine plastic litter. And the second interim report is already available as a coffee document in our website that you can see the link here, and I can share with you later in the chat if you are interested. We are also developing a global survey to estimate how to estimate where fishing gear is lost, how it's lost, and to get this baseline data I mentioned before that is lacking. We are also providing from FAO headquarters. We are providing assistance to IOTC to develop a scheme to operationalize the voluntary guidelines on the marking of fishing gear to be applied to Indian Ocean tuna fisheries. And as Dr. Pech mentioned, we are also in the implementing project together with IMO, which is called Global Partnerships. And the main objective of this program is to assist developing countries to prevent and reduce marine plastic litter that is coming from the fisheries and the maritime transport sectors, and also to identify the opportunities to reduce the use of plastics in these sectors. We are currently in phase 1 of the program, which is a 3.5 years project, where Norway is the main, currently is the donor who provides the funding. This project is organized in 5 main outputs, as you can see in this slide, and FAO is mainly responsible for output number 4, which deal with the development of regulatory and best practices guidelines and tools to prevent and reduce ghost fishing. But we also assist AMO to implement the rest of the outputs. So we unfortunately we started this project only this year in March, and this is when we open a call for expressions of interest for countries to participate in the project. But on the other side, we've been quite lucky that we have very good quite a lot of interest from different regions, as you can see here, and in particular in Asia we got expression of interest from the countries that you can see listed here. At this moment, this week we will confirm the selection of countries that will be participating in this project, and then the next step will be to identify also industry partners and strategic partners to implement this project in the countries that will be participating, and the implementation will be done from next year until 2023. This is my last slide. So in order to overcome the challenges that I mentioned before, we already have the international policy framework, and the only thing we need to do is to find a place for collaboration and cooperation to implement these international policy tools, and FAO is available to provide any technical support where needed. And also, I would like to invite you to express your interest in participating in the Global Partnership project. And I will be available at this email address for anything you want to know about FAO work on this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Amparo. I think at least the audience get to familiar with the term ALDFG a little bit more, abandoned, lost, or otherwise discarded fishing gear, which I think, one of the really biggest problem when you're talking about the marine plastic that going to harm marine wildlife. I think later on we will hear about the net-free sea from EJF Thailand that trying to address this particular issue and also have initiate some public-private partnership that going to help solve the issue as well. If there's no burning question, I like to go on the second speaker, but I think the international policy framework from Amparo that has given, I think it emphasized that it is a really important issue internationally and really require collaboration and cooperation from all partners. And I think especially to engage directly with fishing and also shipping sector is really important because a lot of effort now in trying to address the land-based pollution, but I think we also have to address the sea source of pollution, especially the ghost fishing as well. So let's move on to second speaker, Dr. Jadwathep from Department of Marine National Park, Thailand, which is, one of the most important, I think, marine area in Thailand. And also, I think it's the front line that suffer from marine plastic issue as well. So let's hear from Dr. Jadwathep about the current initiative and also what department has trying to address this issue. Please, Dr. Jadwathep.
Thank you, Dr. Pet. Good evening, everyone. In the objective of National Park, Wildlife and Plants Department, we want to control about the environment in the Marine National Park because Marine National Park is one of marine protected area in Thailand. But we concern about the plastic waste pollution. It's a main problem now, but we want to keep it in mind because now in Thailand we have 26 marine national park in Thailand. It have two sides of the sea of land bed. One is in the Gulf of Thailand, but the other side is be the ocean from India Ocean. The problem from the plastic waste is not only the net or fishing equipment. It have many bottle, plastic bottle in the sea. It have two monsoon in Thailand. When the monsoon come, it will have the plastic waste and the net on the beach. The Marine National Park staff will clean the beach every day for a long time, many years ago and now. But it's not clean because the waste from the sea, the plastic bottle, the net, anything, fishing equipment come on the beach every day. That's why we must have the people come in Thailand to go to the Marine National Park. We go and we help to clean up the beach in the national park. We have the about clip video that to show everyone about Marine National Park staff to go down to the reef to clean up. Let you see for 3 minutes to the video clip first. Can show the video. Excuse me.
We're gonna start a video in a minute, so please kindly wait. Experience a bit of a technical issue.
Oh, okay.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you. From video, you can see the staff of National Park. We try to clean up the leaf, but on the leaf, not only the net and fishery gear, but it have more plastic bag or plastic bottle that have a problem for the fish in the leaf, because sometimes the leaf it have more fish, any fish, but it cannot go out from the net and we will die. Yeah, the fish will die with the net. And if we clean up every day, if we clean up every week, the leaf, it will be the beautiful house for the fish. But not only the net and the fishing gear, I think if you want to reduce the plastic waste problem, we must reduce using single-use plastic. If you can reuse the plastic bottle or anything that you can uh, use to make it to be waste, the plastic you can reuse anything if you want. You can choose to use when you think before you use. You not make the plastic problem. Yeah. But you can recycle when you clean the plastic waste from anywhere, not only the leaf. You can recycle the plastic bottle, you can recycle net, you can recycle plastic bag. That all of plastic don't be all problem for the fish. You can clean anywhere. And about participate, you can be the participant in any activity to clean the plastic waste in the marine national park, like in the video. When you go to the beach, you walk in the morning, you can keep any plastic bag, any plastic waste, and clean up the beach. Anyone can help. And about the support, sometimes we need anyone to support the budget or support about the activity in anywhere. And in the first, I want anyone avoid about the product that made from plastic. When you want to use the canning, you think before you use anything. You can take some time to go to check your home. You have the plastic waste before you put in the bin. Because if you can manage about the waste before it go out to the sea, sometimes it's over to managing. That will be the problem of the plastic in the sea. When it have the monsoon, the plastic in the sea, it will be go on the reef, go on the beach. That be the problem that we must go to clean up again. And I think if we want to support and reduce the problem of the plastic waste or plastic litter, I think everyone must think and reduce to use the plastic. And I think everyone must reuse the plastic bottle to anyone and to take to anywhere. That thank you. And I think everyone must to concern about plastic problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chut. Jaturatep. And if I understand correctly now, for people who go to Marine National Park, they are asked not to bring in the single-use plastic. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that policy now, right?
Yes.
So I think that's a very helpful policy to have. So at least it also helps spreading awareness about, how everybody can take part in reducing single-use plastic as well. So thank you very much, Dr. Jaturatep. And I think the video nicely show that, a number of marine national park, most of them suffer from this marine plastic problem, and it's become quite a burden for park ranger as well to have to deal with this. So it's nice to see kind of public-private partnership. There's a lot of diver that volunteer to clean up the reef and be involved in this cleanup exercise. But again, I think the key point also trying to address the source of pollution in the first place as well, reducing single use. But for the ghost fishing net, I think that's another area that we need to seek solution and partnership how to prevent the ghost fishing net coming to the reef in protected area.
Thank you.
So I'd like to move on to the third speaker, Capucine, who represents Jan and Olga Foundation. I think she also have a very good, interesting case study as well, because actually Jan and Oscar Foundation was founded to support education work of underprivileged students. But the foundation got involved in this marine plastic issue, trying to tackle the problem from community-based approach, and has been working very effectively, with Moken or the seamen in Mukok Surin National Park, as well as a community in Ranong province. So let's hear more about this project from Capucine. Capucine, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Pech. I will be sharing my screen. Okay, so today I will talk for Jan and Oscar Foundation about the local efforts for keeping plastic out of the ocean in Ranong, Thailand. This is Ranong province. It is located in the southwest of Thailand. Ranong province is known, amongst other things, for its maritime border with Myanmar. Its capital, Ranong, is a small seaside town located next to the Andaman Sea. There are many small islands in the Andaman Sea, some inhabited and some uninhabited. These islands provide heavenly landscapes, but marine plastic pollution particularly affects the province and especially the small islands of the Andaman Sea. Waste is brought by the tide to these shores, where it is piled up, trapped by rocks or vegetation, and especially during the monsoon, as Dr. Chaturatep mentioned it. So there are plastic bottles, food packaging, glasses, or polystyrene, and also many abandoned fishing nets and ropes also end up on these beaches. Ranong province is lightly populated. There are around 350,000 inhabitants. However, the rate of plastic leakage into the environment is very high, according to a recent report from the International Union for Conservation of Nature. In Ranong province, there is a 9% leakage rate. It means that 9% of the plastic waste generated in the province is released into the environment, specifically into rivers and oceans. One of the reasons for this is a significant lack of plastic waste collection. According to the same IUCN report, 46%, almost half of the plastic waste generated in the province is reportedly not collected. On the islands of the Andaman Sea, it is especially difficult to implement formal waste collection and management systems. And working as a traditional plastic recycler is not easy. In fact, the resale price of plastic waste fluctuates significantly and are often very low. And waste collectors must be paid a certain amount of money to make their work profitable. The COVID-19 crisis has exacerbated the plastic recycling industry's challenges. According to the study carried out by Circular Capital, 60% of recyclers could disappear in Southeast Asia. So what is our solution to all these problems? It's a project with a triple impact: social, environmental, and economic. Illustrated here with the Sustainable Development Goals. And now let me share with you a small video to present our project. Sorry about that. So in 2019, the Jan Oskar Foundation created and supports the social enterprise Ranong Recycle for Environment. The purpose of Ranong Recycle is to collect and sort the plastic waste. Local waste pickers living on land or islands are collecting plastic waste where they live. They are selling PET, PP, and fishing nets to Ranong Recycle. Second Life is working with brands willing to offset their plastic footprint. Thanks to its partnership with Second Life, Ranong Recycle is buying the waste at a fair price above the traditional market price. Ranong Recycle is then selling the plastic waste to its partner. So Environmental Justice Foundation is collecting the discarded fishing nets in order to recycle them. And Wongpanit Krabi is shredding the PET and PP to send them to Tide Ocean Material and EcoAlf. They both recycle the waste to make new products and clothes. Jan and Oskar Foundation and the profit made by Ranong Recycle fund a waste bank and educational program in a governmental school in Ranong City, Kaoni Wet School. And this year, the foundation received a grant from the International Union for Conservation of Nature through its Smart Plastic program, funded by the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. So as we can see in this diagram, the project is sustainable only because there is a collaboration between the private sector, the government, and the civil society with NGO, international organizations, and local communities. The project is working with local communities in two ways: with informal waste pickers living on land or islands, and with workers who sort the waste at Ranong Recycle. Most of them belong to minorities, ethnic Moken or Burmese migrants. In Ranong province, we indeed found disadvantaged communities. First, the Moken community. The Moken belong to an ethnic group of semi-nomadic fishing people. They live on several islands in the Andaman Sea of the Myanmar and Thailand coast. Traditionally, they travel and live for part of the year on their boats, called kabang, and they make a living from fishing and shellfish gathering. But their traditional way of life has been under threat for several years. Among many problems, plastic pollution in the sea hinders them in their activities. Besides, most of the Moken have no identity papers, so they are unable to access legal employment, social security benefits, or even the public healthcare system. With no documents, most Moken people end up having to work for wages far below the minimum required. Burmese migrants are another disadvantaged community. Every year, thousands of Burmese people cross the border to work in Ranong province. They contribute greatly to the local economy. Unfortunately, some companies do not provide them with work permits and pay them below the minimum wage. Moreover, the recent COVID-19 crisis has resulted in job losses among the Burmese migrants. The aim of Ranong Recycle is to guarantee the local communities fair wages and decent working conditions. Since the plastic recycling sector is not really profitable, international partnership ensure a fair payment for the products and the work done, and allow for investment in pollution and recycling awareness programs. So what are our achievements so far? Concerning the social impact, so far, the people working at Ranong Recycle are 3 young Thai managers who had lost their job due to COVID. 2 of them are women. There are also 2 Burmese men employed full-time for the operations of the center. There are up to 6 Moken and 6 Burmese women who are coming as daily workers to sort the plastic. And 80% of the whole team are women. All team members are paid above the local minimum wage and according to their skill. Concerning the people collecting plastic waste, the collectors of plastic are usually among the poorest people of the communities, living in difficult conditions with very limited revenues. The premium paid directly to them by our partner Second Life allows to increase their revenues. So there are currently more than 30 land-based collectors bringing plastic to Ranong Recycle, and 5 groups of island-based collectors living on 5 different islands of the Andaman Sea. So we have Koh Payam, Koh Sinhai, Koh Saidam, Koh Lao, and Sarin Archipelago, which is a national park in Thailand. Concerning the social impact, so since January 2020, we have been carrying out a social impact study to monitor our project in agreement with the IUCN. The results of this social impact study are available on the impact track page. So the name of the project is Moken Guardian of the Sea, Safeguarding the Ocean from Plastic. And to take an example from this survey, 73% of the people who are working thanks to our project are declaring themselves totally satisfied with this project. Concerning the environmental and economic impacts, 120 tons of PET has been collected since January 2020. And we also organized several beach cleanups to communicate about our project and get the local population involved. The goal of Ranong Recycle is to be self-sustainable with a minimum 70% of the profit going for social causes, education, and the environment in Thailand. So about the education project, so currently there is one waste bank running in Kaoni Wet School in Ranong City. Every Wednesday, children can bring plastic waste to the waste bank, and Ranong Recycle is then collecting the plastic waste. The money thus collected by the school will be used to finance a school trip. This project raises children's awareness of pollution and recycling. Next year, hopefully, 3 more waste banks will be built on the island school. So probably in Koh Payam, Koh Sinai, and in Koh Lao. And we are currently developing an educational kit for regular intervention in these schools. Above all, the Jan and Oscar Foundation believes in the education and willpower of children to find solutions to sea pollution. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Any questions are very welcome in order to clarify certain points or address new ones. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kapusin. I think it's a very nice project that implementing on the ground, trying to involve the local communities and especially the disadvantaged community to have a direct action and also providing alternative livelihood. So that's really encouraging project. Although it's really kind of turning crisis into opportunities, right? Mm-hmm. It's a bit sad that they have to creating the livelihood out of waste collection, but I think that's the reality that we still have to face for certain number of years, you know, from now until we can really bring down the source. But I think the cooperation that the project has been able to create is very interesting at the local level, and how you were able to really connect the dot between the waste collector to a supplier, and also to connect that with the organization like EJF, also trying to turn it into product that sell and raise fund for the project to be more self-sustained. I think it's going to be very good because now we have a very good model project at the local level. So I don't have any burning question from the audience. So I would like to continue on to the fourth speaker, our last speaker, and also our host, the EJF Thailand team, Kun Ingpat and Salisa, to I think perhaps also kind of continue from the project that we just heard from Jan and Oscar in Ranong, and how this EJF Net Free Sea trying to address this problem and also creating this public-private partnership to scale up the effort. So the floor is yours, please.
You're muted, Kun Ingpat. Hi, hi everyone, and thank you so much, Kun Pet, and hi to all the audience member. I hope you are enjoying the session so far. I'm Ingpat, Ocean Campaigner for Environmental Justice Foundation, or EJF. I'm also joined here today with my colleague Salisa, who is the coordinator of the Net Free Seas project. So our presentation today will be about the Net Free Seas project. a community-based solution that we have introduced here in Thailand to help tackle marine plastic, especially discarded fishing net waste and ghost fishing gears in Thailand. So shall we begin? So before we go ahead and jump right into the project, let me quickly introduce you who EGF is. So EGF is an international nonprofit organization. We have one mission is to protect the people and the planet. And we work in 11 countries across the globe. And in Asia, we have 4 offices in Thailand, Taiwan, South Korea, and Indonesia. And our main campaign focus on the ocean as well. So we work to combat illegal fishing, encourage sustainable fishery. And now we have been extending our work to protect the marines biodiversity from plastic pollution as well. So let me just quickly give you the context of the Net Free Seas project and why we decided to introduce the project here in Thailand. So as our main campaign is to fight against illegal fishing, our campaigner go out to fishing villages and fishing ports a lot. And we see that there were fishing nets discarded everywhere, from the beaches, in the village, nearby the piers. So we took those fishing nets and then we did some R&D, and turns out that we discovered that they're actually made from a really suitable type of plastic that are suitable for recycling, like nylon or polypropylene or polyethylene. So we decided that maybe there is something that we could do to help local communities and fishing industry to tackle the waste that they have to produce monthly and yearly. So just to give you the context of how severe of the impact of ghost gear and discarded fishing nets in Thailand is, so around 5% of marine debris in Thailand is fishing related, according to the statistic collected by Department of Marine Coastal Resources. And also, like Capucine and other speaker has mentioned before during the session, a lot of community in Thailand and potentially community in Asia are isolated and far from existing waste management system. So for example, communities that we work with say that they either have to burn or bury end of life fishing nets because they are unable to be reached by local waste management system, because they are either located in a really far away location, or maybe they are located on an island. So one of the nets that we are working at the moment, as you can see on the screen, is gill nets. So it is one of the main form of discarded ghost fishing gears that are found in our oceans. And they are one of the most dangerous variant as well, because the longer that they are left in the water, the more problematic they can become. They can entangle fish and other marine species, as well as ruining the entire coral reefs. Also, over 300 marine animals in Thailand were seriously harmed or lost their lives in 2017 due to fishing net waste, ghost gears, and other type of waste discarded from fishing industry. So as you can see that the context of the issue is quite serious, so that's why we decided to kickstart our project. So to implement this project, we also see the needs to involve diverse range of partners. So we have been engaging all key stakeholders here. For example, for government agencies, we have been working with Department of Fisheries and Department of National Park, which is done by Dr. Jaduratev today. We're also working with recycling companies who have helped us give the new life to fishing net waste. And we are also working with end user products company here locally in Thailand, who then use recycled fishing net pellets to produce product. And we're also working with local CSO like Yan and Oscar Foundation to help us get in touch with more remote communities and help bring our solution to them. So now let me quickly walk you through how our project works. So as I mentioned before, that our project employs community-based approach. So everything and every time always begins with community consultation. So what we do here is we go door to door, we go to each community, we go host a consultation session with them, and we ask them what they think about our project, what needs to be improved in our system that we are suggesting and introducing to them. And we always take in their suggestion, and each community get to design how the system will be implemented in their communities. When we reach agreeable solution and agreeable model, communities start to collect, clean, and dye discarded fishing nets for us. And then these will be stored in a designated location until it's reached desirable volume. Like, for example, we usually wait until 1 or 2 tons to begin one collection due to logistic challenges and logistic feasibility. So after that, when the nets reach recyclable and desirable volume, we will help connect communities with our local recycling partners, who then will come and collect the nets from local communities. So here, the nets are being paid by our local recycling partners, and to ensure transparency, we have set up a base price system. So each and every single communities that are a part of our project get paid the same price per kilo for discarded fishing nets that they supply to our project. After the collection from local communities, the nets are then sent to recycling facility, and they are recycled into pellets, which then get sent to end user products company to be recycled into exciting new products. So as you can see on the screen here, these are one of the latest products that we have made from discarded fishing net collect through our project. So you can see that there is a penguin soap dispenser. So 100% of this product is made entirely from discarded fishing nets. And on the right-hand side here, you can see a turtle coaster. This is also 100% made from fishing net as well. When we kickstart, this is actually, and then you can see here now on the screen, this is actually one of the very first product that we introduced through our project. So it's a whale bottle opener. When we kickstarted our project, we actually got hit really hard by the COVID pandemic. So a lot of product ranges that we introduced with our partner are geared towards COVID fighting. So we have here, for example, push and spray keychain, which you can use to push your mobile screen and touch like other surfaces to prevent your hands from touching like surfaces. And then you can also use the other end of the keychain to spray alcohol to clean the surface as well. So as you can see that through these advertising photos, that it's sort of focused on plastic pollution and communicating to consumer about the issues. This is actually intentional, and it has been one of our main mission that we work with our partners to begin with. So not only that we want to provide community-based solution, but we also would like to communicate about how serious the issue is to consumers as well, because they are one of the main actors who have the power to motivate for changes in the market. So we always make sure that every time that we do marketing or we do some sale campaign, we always make sure to insert a message that plastic pollution is actually really serious, and consumer also play a part to help in tackling this issue as well. So our project achievements so far since we launched in July this year is now that we have recruited 46 communities based in Rayong, Chantaburi, Nakhon Si Thammarat, Songkhla, Phang Nga, and Surat Thani provinces. So usually towards the eastern and southern side of the Gulf of Thailand. And we are now working with over 700 small-scale fishers who will receive financial and environmental benefits from participation. So towards financial incentives that they gain from our partners' collection of their discarded fishing nets, they will put into community fund, which they will use to support conservation activities and also to help repair their fishing boats and fishing gears. So far, we have collected 9 tons of discarded fishing nets, and we're expected to collect over 9 tons of fishing nets by the end of this year. So that would make up over 13 tons. So now I'll hand over the floor to my colleague Salisa, who will then explain a little bit more about our project strengths and uniqueness.
Okay, thank you, Ingpat. So Ingpat has already walked you through what Net-Free Seas project is and how it works. So I would say that the first strength of our Net-Free Seas project is prevention. So the Net-Free Seas project is designed to prevent discarded nets from entering the ocean. Also, we have prioritized the local needs. We have also deployed the circular economy approach, which is easy to implement, cost-effective, and also low in carbon footprint, since every step is done in Thailand. And even though our main focus is to stop fishing nets from entering the ocean, we do not overlook the fact that there are already lost or discarded fishing nets in the ocean. So these nets are harmful for marine wildlife and biodiversity. So we came up with the net-free seas cleanup dives. The first, so far, we have organized 2 cleanup dives. The first one in Chumphon in collaboration with the Department of National Parks. And the second one was in Rayong in collaboration with UN Environment, Green Fins Initiative, and the Ripple Foundation. From these 2 cleanups, we were able to remove 250 kilograms of goat nets from the Gulf of Thailand. These cleanups were also joined by volunteers from the Thai diving community. We also, with whom we conduct safety trainings before diving, and also ask them to help segregate waste so that they can, so that they can be sent to test by our recycling partners of their recycling feasibility. We also would like to use these cleanups not only to remove as many ghost gears as possible, but also to raise awareness of the negative impacts of these ghost gears to the environment. And as we scale up, we also would like to, through these cleanups, record the amount of fishing nets and identify hotspots of nets in the Thai water, since we know that the absence of these data creates challenges for tackling marine plastics pollution in Thailand. I think this one is the most important strength that we have is the community participation, as Ingpat already mentioned. Communities are involved in every step of this project. They also get to design their own payment system. Some communities decided that the incentives that they get from the project will go to the community mutual fund, and they will use that for conservation programs. But some would also allocate those incentive to their individual income. They also get to design pickup frequency, so they decide how many months that they would like us to go collect the nets from their communities, since some communities are larger in scale and some are smaller. So it is quite hard to organize the pickup at the same frequent or every 3 months or 4 months. They also get involved in the overall management related to the project, and they also allowed to take initiative where they have the capability to do so. I would say here is one of the, I would say, best examples of how community gets to engage with the Net-Free Seas project. So in front of you right now is a community in Chana district, Songkhla province. I don't know if you're familiar with the Thai geography. I'm sorry for not putting up a map here, but Songkhla is located on the southeast part of Thailand. This community is called Bo Son. It's rather a large scale artisanal fishing communities, and within 3 months they were able to collect up to 5 tons of discarded fishing nets. Last week, Ingpat and I went down to visit the community. We would like to conduct a cleaning, I would say a cleaning training for the community, and we're quite anxious because of obviously the amount of fishing nets that they have. We thought that it would be a burden for them to clean these nets to the point that they are ready to be recycled. But the moment we got to the community, Bang Ron, the guy on the second photo on the lower part, said that we know that we have to clean these 5 tons. So so he came up with the idea of a cleaning station which cleans and dry fishing nets just like washing machine, so the nets are ready to be recycled. he also mentioned that he sees selling of these fishing nets a career that his community members can take part. So that's why he came up with this cleaning station initiative. So this is the community's cleanup station, which is expected to be completed by mid-December 2020. And this is entirely came up by the community. We did not came up with it and tell them to do it. So I can say that this example shows that the communities actually are capable of leading a solution should it be giving opportunities. Net-free seas is also like a Turi-based solution. Okay. Despite the success of the project that we have, we cannot deny that there are some challenges that we are facing. So the first challenge that we are facing right now is how to clean the fishing nets to the level that they can be recycled. As known in this recycling world, waste needs to be as clean as possible for the recyclers to achieve the high quality results. And unlike bottles or plastic bags, cleaning fishing nets can be challenging, considering they are made to actually catches everything. So right now, and we are in EJF, we are in the process of reaching out to innovation agencies to find out if there's existing cleaning technologies that would help us ease this process. And in the meantime, just like Boston community, we have asked community to help us out with this as well halfway. Our second challenge and the last challenge actually is that since the communities are located quite far away from the recycling facilities and also from each other, the shipment of nets can be challenging. And so to overcome this problem, we are trying to implement a hub system where one community gathered nets in one place and from nearby communities, so that when we send a truck to pick up the nets, it doesn't have to stop at every community. So that would save time and also emit less carbon footprint as well.
So before we end our presentation, we would like to present the audience member as well as key stakeholders who are listening and tuning into the session right now, key recommendations that we think would be critical to implement before in order to move on and move forward to tackle the issue of marine plastic pollution. So first of the thing that we need to do is we need to do the scoping of the problem before designing initiatives. So as we can hear from the session today and potentially like in your professional area of work, there are a lot of great initiatives are being done, but usually it's being done either separately or being done without other relevant sector knowing that these kind of initiatives exist. So the scoping of the problem would be really helpful in maximizing and integrating these initiatives together before we design any future initiative. So we make sure that we don't overlap or we don't replicate the solution that already exists, but instead we scale up the solution that exists already. Secondly, we think that all sector needs to be involved, especially local communities who will be the one receiving the direct effects from solutions that are implemented to tackle this issue. So one of the things that we think would be really ideal and helpful is the establishment of national task force or working group, which consists of key stakeholders from industry that are concerned or work in tackling marine plastic pollution. So if this kind of working group can be organized, when we design solutions, we will get a more well-rounded feedback in terms of putting solution together and implementation as well. After we put up this kind of collaboration, we can then focus on designing tools and initiatives for all sectors involved to tackle this problem. So in terms of tackling these issues, we think that it needs to be looked at from both ends. So from the producer side and the consumer side as well, because you know, you can't just simply keep on fixing the problem towards the end of the cycle, but you also need to work with the person who is producing the waste to enter the cycle as well. So the incentive should be designed to fit the desire and the benefits of each sector. Like, so for example, we have one initiative that is being done by Taiwanese government. So the Marine Bureau is already designing fishing net recycling scheme that is rather similar to the Net Free Seas project. They're incentivizing local port workers and fishers to collect used fishing net in exchange for financial benefits to prevent them from throwing away like fishing net waste from the ocean as well. So this might be the kind of incentives that is needed for fishers and port workers, but we might also need other kind of incentives. For example, for producer who will be implementing EPR if they are interested. For example, it could be tax benefit or some kind of other privileges in their investment as well. And lastly, we think that policy framework and initiatives should be designed and implemented in a way that they coexist, because in order for initiative to be efficiently implemented, they also need policy frameworks to help support and facilitate these initiatives as well. So we need like regulation and law that will help pave the way for initiative to be carried out throughout the country and throughout the region instead of blocking these initiatives from being put in force. So this is what we would like to lead with. And we are always open for collaboration. Please feel free to contact us on the email shown on the screen, and also follow us on EGF Thailand Facebook page to keep up with what the Net Free Seas project is doing to keep the fishing nets away from our ocean. Thank you.
Thank you very much, EJF team. I think those are very informative presentations, both from the two projects that directly engage with the communities. I think I got one quick question that maybe a follow-up, and I think both EJF team and or maybe Kapusin can answer. It's about the effort to help extend the life of fishing net, you know, how or whether you are able to help them repair or seek the better design or some other cases that going to help reduce the or extend the life of fishing net in the community. There's a question from the audience. Yeah.
Okay, if no one is taking the question, maybe I can. So usually just to quickly give and explain the context of why community keep on discarding so much fishing nets into the environment. It is because right now fishing nets are being used in a manner that it would ended up like being damaged or broken to the point of no repairs anyways. Like for example, the gill nets that we are working on right now is actually used to used for fishing for crabs. So as you could imagine, that crabs' claws are very sharp, and usually when they get caught into the net, they actually damage the nets to the point that it can no longer be used for fishing, or it's no longer is suitable for fishing anymore. So I would like to just make it clear that you know, communities does not intend to actually discard the waste into the ocean, but the nets actually reached the end of the cycle already. That's why initiative to help them manage the waste after it's being discarded is really critical. But certainly that I think there are potentials and technologies that we can potentially explore in terms of whether if the nets can be designed to be more durable and to be more suitable to recycling as well. One of the things that EGF is trying to push for our advocacy goal for the project next year is to do an EPR campaign and to work with fishing net recycling company and fishing net producer to produce the nets that are made from one type of plastic, so that when they are being discarded or when they are reaching the end of life, they could enter a recycling system in a way that it's easier for recycling factories to recycle them as well. So I hope that answered the question from the audience.
Yes, thank you. I think that's I think keep the context a little bit about the, you know, those net going to be expired one way or another anyway. I think we have some more time left, not too much, but I think it's very important follow-up question, because I think we hear from Amparo about this international framework. We heard about from Dr. Jaturatep about how protected area dealing with the problem, and also two very nice example of community-based approach to the problem. But also there's a question about how do we really kind of scale up this kind of initiative, and also creating a more traceability. I think you touched a little bit about the legal framework, the EPR that need to be in place to force the producer to be more responsible. We don't yet have the EPR law in Thailand, and I think there's a lot of awareness and there's a lot of discussion at the moment about forging more responsibility from producer to address this kind of problem. But so the first question, I think it's very nice setup project you demonstrate about, really kind of all the elements that need to be in place. But how do we scale up this kind of local regional initiative across the country? Do you have any recommendation? Or from your point of view?
May I take the floor?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight the recommendations that our colleagues from EJF mentioned, that is important to first scope in the problem, and then, but also to identify who are the stakeholders involved in finding solutions and tackle the problem at a national level. And this is something that we aim to do through the Glow Litter partnership project. We would like to understand in those countries where the project will be implemented, what is happening first, and then understand where are the gaps and the opportunities to precisely scale up the solutions that already exist, like this nice projects we hear from Capucine and Impact. So the idea is to understand how they work, where are the gaps, and also from the policy point of view. So what can be done at the regulation level to help these initiatives going and to be also scale up.
I would like to add on a little from the point that Amparo was making, that when we scale up these kind of solutions, we must always also remember that there is no one size fits all solution as well. So every time that we try to scale up something, we also need to consider like the national and regional context to, in order to actually implement solutions that actually works and fits in the context within like the region or the country. And also, Kun Pet, someone mentioned using technology to create more transparency, right?
Yes.
In the question. So if I may just share a little bit about what Thailand is doing in terms of that, and how our project is working to support that goal. So just to quickly share that, definitely technology is going to be very big, and it's going to be very critical in terms of helping keeping the nets away from our oceans, because it's also tied in with both EPR and also filling in the information gaps that Amparo have addressed, that we have no baseline information regarding where the nets come from when they get discarded in our oceans. So what Thailand is actually doing right now is the Department of Fisheries actually has been piloting gear marking trial. So they have been putting on a tag on fishing gears in several fishing vessels, just so that if God forbid they ever get lost in the ocean and it gets washed up on the shore or someone retrieve them, it can actually be traced to the original owner and maybe original producer, just so that they can enter the waste management properly. So this is like one of the key examples of how technologies can be used to create more transparency, but also to create more responsibility for both producer and also for fishing operator as well. And I think it's going to be an really exciting step for Thailand and also other countries in Asia to follow in terms of, enhancing transparency to tackle fishing net waste and also marine plastic pollution from these issues. So these are also one of the area that EJF is working with Department of Fisheries to support as well.
Thanks for sharing that. If I may, I like to back to Amparo about whether is it going to be possible to have international framework to not just voluntary but mandatory about every fishing net need to be marked or have some kind of this marking system so that we have people accountable for their net, and maybe it will lead to a better design or some kind of prevention measure.
That's a very good question. And the answer is precisely what Ingpad mentioned, that it is very difficult to agree a unique solution for all the different countries in the world. So this is why these type of instruments are voluntary and very general. And then once a particular country wants to deal with the problem, to find solutions, they need to reshape these guidelines and adapt it to their local context. And this is why it is very difficult to get something that is mandatory for everyone, because in each country they have different regulations, they have different also problems, and they need to be addressed in a different way.
All right, thank you. I just thinking in terms of like the approach, like extended producer responsibility legal framework as well. I think it's very different from country to country, but I think we also have share experience about what work in other country, for the country that maybe don't yet have the legal framework in place. Anyone else to want to share about the idea of scaling up?
Can I try to, yes, can I try to answer to Jessica's questions?
Yeah.
From our perspective, international stakeholders are already implied in the project. They can be implied in two ways. So they can, for example, offset their plastic footprint. And this way, they are funding the collection of plastic waste through local projects like our project. And they can also use the recycling plastic in their products. This is two solutions, but of course, now it's not mandatory, as you said it before. And it's depends of each company is willing if they want to do this. And concerning the proof of collection and origin of the waste, there is currently a standard, certification standard, which are in the process of be writing, and it concerns the location of where the plastic was collected. So, for example, there is a zero plastic ocean or free Arvera, and they want to build standard to say where is the plastic coming from. But sometimes on the field it's not that easy, because for example, communities don't have the technology needed to prove that where was the plastic collected. For example, in Serene Archipelago, they don't even have electricity, so they cannot map on their cell phone where they are collecting the plastic. That's all from me.
Thank you for sharing that. I have another question. So I think they said they also, I think the audience also very impressed with this community project, but how you motivate this local community, and how, I think you already answered how's the reception of the local fishing community to this initiative. I think for the EJF, you show the both. I think both project has showed I think a very positive reception from the local community member. But I think maybe the technique, how you really kind of inspire or motivate them to be involved from the beginning until it get into operation.
If I may just take the floor before I hand over to Capucine, because she will also have a lot of interesting story to share as well. Actually, you would be really surprised to learn that when we reach out to local community, they were very excited and they felt very positive about the initiative. So we usually assume that local communities may not be aware of implication or danger of plastic entering the oceans or something of that sort or something along that line, right? But actually, when we speak to local communities, we found out that there are actually like the group that is most aware about the impact of marine plastic pollution. This is because it has direct impacts on their day-to-day livelihood. So it was like actually one of the biggest surprise of that we discovered when we tried to introduce this project. So the reception has been usually really positive, and the techniques that you asked, Kun Pet, I would say that when you reach out to them, try to think of them as an equal partner in implementing the solution, and that we are one of the hands that will join hands with them to be helping hand to create the solution and implement the solution together. Also, another important techniques to help motivate not just local communities, but also like any stakeholders also to show how they can actually benefit from the project that we'll be implementing. Like, for example, for local communities, since they're already aware of the impacts of plastic pollution that is having on the environment, it's not too difficult to convince them. But we also have challenges and setbacks in terms of communicating with local community as well, because usually when we try to implement and introduce new solution, sometimes things can get introduced in a way that there would be lacks of flexibility. So flexibility is also another key when introducing the project. So we always make sure to tell the community that things that we are implementing is flexible and will be tailored to their needs. So I think flexibility, incentives, and also focusing on main interests would be the key things that we help gain and motivate participation from local communities.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing those tips. I think it will be very useful. I think at this event you have heard so much about different initiative and project. I just like to mention that these are very good because once you get to the ground and you start to dealing with the real problem, I think you pick up a lot of insight that would be useful to share. Well, one thing I like to mention, because I saw your recommendation about set up the national task force on this marine plastic issue. So I think the problem is more about coordinating, because I'm aware of several national task force in a different ministry already. But I think as a whole, Thailand also have this national task force that involve a lot of interministerial coordination. But hopefully the lesson and insight from this kind of on the ground project will be able to share across the task force. And I think the interesting part that what I have experienced is also this national task force has quite a lot of private sector involvement as well, for this particular issue. So hopefully there will be a channel to really kind of bring up the lesson and insight from the community-based project like this to discuss in shaping the policy. Because at the end, I think if we want to scale up, we need to have some legal framework in place. You mentioned about the EPR, and I think a lot of I think more and more countries realize that you need to have some sort of legal framework that will be able to not encourage, but also have a mandate to really get the private sector to be more responsible to their production. Anyone in the audience would like to shoot up the question, you can feel free to put in chat. Otherwise, perhaps we can get back to Menti question that we want to do at the beginning. I think due to some technical problem, we were not able to go through as we planned, but we can do it now if the audience is still with us. I think almost 40 people are still with us. So this is actually not the answer. So I think what we're trying to do now is to ask the audience to go to menti.com and put in the code that you see on the screen, 2218623, and answer perhaps the first question. Okay, we start to have a more result coming in. You can do it now as we talk. So the question is, give us one word that you think will help solve the marine plastic crisis. One word that you think the most important. Awareness is getting bigger, but we also have a lot of ideas as well in terms of policy pieces, government support, transparency, incentive, EPR, collaboration, communication. So if you are still with us, go to menti.com, menti.com, and use the code 2218623. So we just try to get the sense about one word, one most important approach that you think will help solve the marine plastic crisis. So now we have this awareness and education come up big. These are definitely important, especially for the long term and sustainability of whatever initiative. Shall we move to second question? So the second question is, which sector is most responsible for the marine plastic crisis and why? So there's a lot of diverse opinion. Some say government, some say food delivery, but also there's a comment about it's actually a more systematic issue across all sectors and all stakeholders have a responsibility. There's a comment about the single-use plastic as well, because there's no proper mechanism to dispose them. There also comment about the plastic producer because they should be responsible for all the waste that they generate. So there's a mixed answer. Some say the government, quite a few emphasize on the role of private sector that need to be more responsible for the crisis. But again, there's some also comment that government is the one because it's the one that can set the policy and also legal framework that force private sector to do more. Okay, I think we got an idea. So this is really kind of mixed answer. We have quite a lot of response. Okay, let's move on to number 3. When you think about marine plastic pollution and ghost gear, what do you think is the main challenge? Lack of collaboration and baseline data. So I think that's really kind of the key point from Amparo as well, who looking at this kind of international framework. So lack of collaboration is one thing, and also most countries still lack of baseline data on this issue. Collection rate and behavioral change is also has been put out. Finding solution that can work across the scale. Stop consuming so much plastic is another one. About the ghost gear, there's also the issue about the illegal fishing activities. So that seems to be clear, because if they are operating illegally, they are much less responsible from all the practices. Lack of education to the impact of biodiversity on net being left in the water and how it affects the amount of fish collected. Yes, I think maybe as a whole, the society needs to be more aware about the impact of this abandoned and discard fishing gear. There's not so much awareness around this issue. I think the society has been raised a lot of awareness on the single-use plastic, but when it comes to this particular issue of discard fishing net, not many people aware about the harmful effect that if it left in the sea. Stronger enforcement, I think enforcement will always be the key as well, because even if we have the legal framework and many agreements, but without enforcement, there will be a loophole and it will be very difficult to achieve whatever has been agreed. Okay, I think we have some really nice comment from the audience, and also, really have open up the opportunity to hear from the audience as well, who have been with us for the last 1.5 hours, almost 2 hours now. Just to say that I get kind of, approval from the organizer to go on a little bit longer, because this session is supposed to end by 5:30, but I think the organizer said yes, if we still have interest to go on, so we can go on until 6. But so we now, I think, have about 8 or 9 minutes left. I can have some, I think, 1 minute for all 4 speakers to have like kind of last word that you would like to leave at the end of the session about, after hearing all the panelists speaking and also some of the feedback from the audience. So 1 minute each, please, starting with Amparo.
Thank you, Dr. Pett. So I just wanted to add something that I couldn't say because I had to run at the end of my presentation because I was running out of time. In the Glow Litter partnership project, we aim to engage also the private sector. We will be creating a global industry alliance to address the ALDFG problem. So this is what I wanted to add, and I hadn't time to do during my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope Dr. Turathe is still with us. Would you like to have the take-home message? Please go ahead. Please unmute your microphone.
Thank you. And I think this problem will be successful for us. We will join together to control and solve them about plastic waste pollution. I think that's, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaratev. Capucine, any last word, take home message from France?
Yes, message, but about Thailand, not France. So I wanted to say that, yeah, for us, we can find solution for only a part of the problem. And as I was saying in my presentation, there is no formal waste collection in most of the place where is the project set. So we need, I don't know, help from other NGO or like AGF or other part of the civil society or government to take care of the whole problem. Because, for example, when people on the island are collecting waste, they are not gonna pick only plastic bottles, or they cannot separate when they are collecting waste. So they are bringing back all the waste to the mainland, and then we need other recycler to be able to buy this waste. And another problem I want to focus on is about the polystyrene, because there is a lot of polystyrene on the island, and currently we don't know what to do with it. So if anybody has solution about that, I'm really interested to hear them. So, thank you.
Thank you, Capucine. DJF team,
Yes.
Melissa.
So just to quickly stress on the point that everyone has been mentioning throughout the session, and also from the audience as well, that it is everyone's responsibility to tackle this issue together, and everyone can play a part in saving our oceans. So as for EJF, we are always looking for new areas of collaboration. So if you are interested in collaborating with us or know anyone who is interested in working with us, whether be it in Thailand or in the region, please always feel free to reach out to us, because we always looking to help, whether if we can replicate the solution at your country or whether if we can just offer like a piece of advice to you, we would be happy to.
Thank you.
And so, as Yuki already said everything, so I just, as the host of this session, I just would like to thank you, all the speakers that agreed to come and speak with us here today, and also Dr. Pet for moderating the session very successfully. I think, as Yuki said, that we need collaborations, we need helping hands, and a session like this is a very good place for people from different sectors, from different levels to come and discuss and also, you know, share ideas. And because marine plastic is a global issue, though today we are focusing on Thailand, but yeah, we need helping hands. And I hope that also thank you to audience. And I hope that we will have a chance to do this again next time.
All right, I think that's very well said. Thank you all the audience who still stay with us, and I hope you get a lot of good idea. It has been very encouraging to, you know, to hear about successful community-based project that hopefully will be able to scale up across the country and will be one of the way to really address this global crisis. So thank you all the speakers, all the panelists, and especially the Environmental Justice Foundation Thailand who hosted this side event. So thank you very much, and see you in the next session.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye
bye.
Thank you all for attending the Sea of Solutions 2020 as well as today's session. There are very new interesting upcoming sessions in the following days. Please join them by clicking the link to the Hubilo community below, which you can see on the chat. and selecting the sessions you'd like to join. Within the community, you can also explore exhibitions as well as chat or set up meetings with other conference attendees. We're excited to invite you to contribute, showcasing your voices for solutions to plastic pollution. We are seeking a simple but powerful pledge, a commitment or statement to less plastic wasted from the perspective of your work. Submit your pledge by going to Hubilo community via the link in the chat and clicking pledges. Thank you once again for your participation and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.